You wake up every morning doing everything right. You work hard, you stay positive, you pray, you set goals, but the money never comes. The bank account stays flat. The promotion passes you by. The business idea sits in your notebook collecting dust. And deep inside, you wonder if wealth is just for other people born into it, people who got lucky. But what if one of the most powerful wealth blueprints ever written was hiding in plain sight? Not in a business book, not in a stock guide, but in the Bible itself. Napoleon Hill, the man who interviewed 500 of the richest people in America, studied this blueprint obsessively. He saw something in the Joseph story that most people miss: a coded system, a spiritual technology for building massive wealth from zero. Today, you are going to discover what Napoleon Hill found in the Joseph story. And by the time we finish, you will understand why your current financial position is not a punishment. It is preparation. Napoleon Hill taught that most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they see setbacks wrong. They think temporary defeat is permanent failure. They see delays as denials, and this single mistake costs them everything. Hill called this the difference between temporary defeat and true failure. Failure only happens when you quit. Everything else is feedback. Now look at Joseph. This young man had a vision. He dreamed that his brothers would bow to him, that he would rise to greatness. But what happened next? His brothers threw him into a pit. They sold him into slavery. He ended up in a foreign land with no money, no connections, and no legal status. If Joseph had seen his situation the way most people do, he would have quit. He would have said, "My dream was a lie. God abandoned me. I was a fool to believe." But Joseph did something different. He refused to accept his outside condition as his inside identity. Andrew Carnegie, the steel giant who mentored Napoleon Hill, once said that every setback carries the seed of an equal benefit. Not a similar benefit, an equal one. The size of your setback predicts the size of your comeback. Joseph's pit was not a tragedy. It was an initiation. The deeper the pit, the higher the throne. Hill understood this deeply. He knew that wealth consciousness is not built in comfort. It is forged in contrast. Here is what blocks most people. They think wealth should feel easy. They think if God wanted them rich, the path would be smooth. But Hill taught the opposite. He said the universe uses resistance to test your purpose. Your setbacks are not signs you are on the wrong path. They are signs you are on the exact right path, and the universe is checking if you are serious. Joseph passed the test, and that changed everything. When Joseph arrived in Egypt as a slave, he was placed in the house of Potiphar, a high-ranking official. Here is where most people miss the wealth lesson. Joseph did not sit around feeling sorry for himself. He did not do the bare minimum. He did not wait for rescue. Instead, he applied what Napoleon Hill would later call the principle of going the extra mile. Hill said that the quality of the service you give, plus the quantity of service you give, plus the mental attitude in which you give it, determines the space you occupy in the world and the rewards you get. Joseph became so excellent in his work that Potiphar put him in charge of his entire household, not because Joseph had a degree, not because he had money, but because he mastered the law of increasing returns. Hill explained this law in Think and Grow Rich. He said that when you give more value than you are paid for, the universe keeps a ledger. You build up equity in the invisible bank of giving back. And eventually, that equity pays dividends far beyond your original effort. Thomas Edison, one of the men Hill studied, showed this principle perfectly. Edison failed 10,000 times before perfecting the light bulb. But he never saw those as failures. He called them 10,000 lessons. He said, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that will not work." This is the Joseph mindset. This is the Hill philosophy. You do not control outcomes, you control input. And when you maximize input with the right mental attitude, outcomes become inevitable. But then Joseph faced another test. Potiphar's wife tried to seduce him. When he refused, she falsely accused him, and Joseph ended up in prison, innocent, forgotten, buried alive in the system. Most people would have broken here. They would have cursed God. They would have said, "I did everything right and still got punished." But Hill taught that this is exactly when the real wealth building begins, because prison is where Joseph met the cupbearer and the baker. Prison is where he practiced dream reading. Prison is where he refined the skill that would eventually make him the second most powerful man in Egypt. Your darkest season is not wasted time. It is specialized training. Napoleon Hill wrote entire chapters on the power of the subconscious mind. He called it the connecting link between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. He said that every great fortune, every breakthrough invention, every moment of genius comes not from conscious effort alone, but from learning how to program and access the subconscious mind. And this is exactly what Joseph mastered in Pharaoh's court. Pharaoh had a dream that none of his wise men could read. 7 fat cows devoured by 7 thin cows. 7 healthy grains consumed by 7 withered grains. Everyone was confused. But Joseph, who had spent years in meditation and connection with divine mind, immediately understood. He said, "The dream is about cycles. 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine." And then he did something that separated him from every other dream reader in Egypt. He did not just explain the dream, he gave a solution. He gave Pharaoh an action plan. Hill said that knowledge is only potential power. It becomes real power when it is organized into definite plans and directed toward a definite end. Joseph told Pharaoh to appoint a wise man to collect 20% of the harvest during the good years and store it for the bad years. This is wealth consciousness. This is money wisdom. Joseph understood what Hill would teach thousands of years later. That success is not about how much you make. It is about how much you keep and how wisely you manage it during cycles. Cycles are a term Hill used to describe the law of momentum. He said that when you build a habit, whether positive or negative, the universe begins to lock that habit into permanent rhythm. Joseph built a rhythm of saving during the 7 years of plenty. He did not spend everything. He did not celebrate too early. He saved. He planned. He operated with future vision. And when the famine came, Egypt was the only nation with food. People came from all over the world to buy grain from Joseph. He became unimaginably wealthy, not because he got lucky, but because he understood the law of cycles and preparation. Henry Ford, another giant Hill studied, said that whether you think you can or you think you cannot, you are right. Joseph thought he could survive the pit. He thought he could thrive in Potiphar's house. He thought he could endure prison, and he thought he could manage an entire nation's economy. Every thought became reality because he paired belief with action. This is the Joseph wealth secret. You must prepare for your harvest before it arrives. You must build wealth consciousness in famine so you are ready when plenty comes. So how do you apply this ancient wealth blueprint to your life right now? Napoleon Hill would tell you to start with definite purpose. Joseph never lost sight of his original dream. Even in the pit, even in prison, even when it seemed impossible. He held the vision. Hill said that the starting point of all achievement is desire. Not hope, not wishing, but burning, obsessive, definite desire backed by faith. You must decide exactly what you want and refuse to accept anything less. Second, use the principle of going the extra mile in your current position. Earl Nightingale, a modern teacher of Hill's philosophy, said that the biggest mistake people make is waiting for their dream job before they give their best effort. He said, "Become excellent where you are, and excellence will promote you." Joseph did not wait until he was free to be excellent. He was excellent as a slave. He was excellent as a prisoner. And that excellence created magnetic pull. The right people noticed. The right opportunities appeared. Excellence is a spiritual force. Third, build your mastermind alliance. Hill said that no person has enough experience, education, ability, and knowledge to build a great fortune without the help of other people. Joseph had his mastermind. He had the cupbearer who remembered him. He had Pharaoh who trusted him. He had his brothers who unknowingly played their role in his destiny. You need people, not just any people, but people aligned with your vision who challenge you, support you, and hold you accountable. Fourth, practice the discipline of saving and delayed reward. In a culture that worships instant results, Joseph's 7 years of saving seems boring. But Hill taught that every great fortune is built slowly through the compound effect of small actions done consistently. He said that riches, when they come in huge amounts, are never the result of hard work alone. They come from the use of definite, organized plans done with persistence. Joseph's plan was simple: save during plenty, survive during famine. That same plan works today. Pay yourself first, invest wisely, live below your means, prepare for economic winter, and finally, forgive. This is the part of the Joseph story most people overlook. When his brothers came to Egypt begging for food, Joseph had every right to destroy them. They threw him in a pit. They sold him into slavery. They ruined his life. But Joseph forgave them. He said, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Hill taught that resentment and revenge are the two most expensive emotions you can carry. They block the flow of infinite intelligence. They create static. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about clearing your own energy channel so wealth can flow. Carnegie said that no one can succeed and remain successful without the friendly help of others. Forgiveness creates cooperation. Bitterness creates isolation. The Joseph wealth secret is not about waiting for a miracle. It is about becoming the miracle. Joseph used every experience, every betrayal, every setback as raw material for his rise. Napoleon Hill studied this pattern in 500 successful people and found the same formula: definite purpose, faith, specialized knowledge, organized planning, persistence, the mastermind, and the subconscious mind. These are the 7 steps Joseph climbed from the pit to the palace, and these are the same 7 steps you must climb. Your current financial position is not your final destination. It is your starting point. Like Joseph in the pit, you are being prepared for something far greater than you can imagine. But preparation requires action. You cannot sit passively and expect infinite intelligence to do everything. You must meet the universe halfway. You must apply these principles daily. You must transform your mind before your circumstances transform. Napoleon Hill spent his entire life proving one truth: what the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Joseph conceived his dream as a young man. He believed it through slavery. He believed it through false accusation. He believed it through prison. And eventually, the dream showed up. Not because Joseph was special, but because he understood the laws. And those same laws work for you right now. If this message hit you, if you felt something shift inside while listening, then you are part of the community of creators. Subscribe to this channel. Join thousands of people who are using Napoleon Hill's wisdom to create real wealth, real success, and real transformation. This is not entertainment. This is education. This is activation. And you are ready. I will leave you with the words Napoleon Hill used to close many of his talks. He said, "The greatest secret of all time is that you are the master of your own destiny. You have the power to create your own reality. Stop looking for permission. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start now. Start where you are. Start with what you have and watch how the universe responds. You were born for greatness. Now go claim it.